Hello and welcome to this week's Real Estate Report on the Finance News Network. I'm Lelda Smits. This week we conclude our series looking at council areas with the greatest increase in hold periods over the last 5 years, with a focus on 2 council areas in the Northern Territory. We speak with Property Council of Australia Executive Director New South Wales Glenn Byers about the New South Wales Government Metropolitan Plan for Sydney 2036. And in our tax tip, we look at the importance of dating your property purchase contract. But first, let's catch up on the latest property news with Melissa Beaumont-Lee.
The number of new home loans increased slightly in November 2010 for the third consecutive month. The Australian Bureau of Statistics data shows the number of loans for construction increased by 2.7%. Loans for the purchase of new homes increased 9.7%. In seasonally adjusted terms, in November last year, the total number of owner-occupier loans increased in every state and territory except for Tasmania, which fell by 1.9%. Loans increased the most in the Northern Territory by 7.4% and 3.7% in the Australian Capital Territory. New South Wales wasn't too far behind in third place at 3.3%. South Australia 2.3%, followed closely by Western Australia and Victoria with a 2.2% increase.
This week we conclude our series looking at council areas with the greatest increase in hold periods over the last 5 years, with a focus on 2 council areas in the Northern Territory. A hold period represents the time between when a property is bought and sold and can be an indication of the appreciation rates and desirability of the area. First, let's look at the council area of Darwin, the central business district and capital of the Northern Territory. With a population of 66,291 in the 2006 census, the relatively flat Darwin council area rests on a bluff overlooking Darwin Harbour and is the Northern Territory's regional centre with the largest concentration of people. Extensive coastal areas define the landscape of Darwin, often described as Australia's gateway to Southeast Asia. Almost completely rebuilt after Cyclone Tracy in 1974, locals now enjoy a modern metropolitan lifestyle filled with abundant nature and wildlife that thrives in the tropical climate. An influx of newer residents has seen a rise in modern medium-density apartment blocks, catering for a growing younger population. Darwin's economy is driven by its fast-developing mining and tourism industries, as well as Northern Australia's military base. According to figures from RP Data, houses in Darwin recorded the largest increase in hold periods in the Northern Territory for the 5 years to 2010. Last year, the average hold period was 5.3 years, up from 3.3 years in 2005. The median price of a house in Darwin has climbed 93.3% in the 5-year period to $550,000 in 2010. Our next council area is Litchfield, located on the eastern and southeastern outskirts of the state's capital, Darwin. With a population of 15,554 in the last census, residents of the Litchfield municipality largely reside in tropical rural bushland, which is bound by the Adelaide River. On its doorstep is also World Heritage listed Kakadu National Park and Litchfield National Park. The area supports booming horticultural, agricultural and industrial industries, all within close proximity to Darwin's increasing employment opportunities. Litchfield is a mainly residential suburb with homes boasting large blocks on wide streets. The houses reflect a tropical style, elevated with framed openings from floor to ceiling to encourage air circulation and combat the Northern Territory's heat. Taking a look at the figures, houses in Litchfield recorded the second largest increase in hold periods in the Northern Territory for the 5 years to 2010. Last year, the average hold period was 4.8 years, up from 3 years in 2005. The median price of a house in Litchfield has soared just over 100% in the 5-year period to $520,000 in 2010. Let's now turn to our interview. This week we speak with Property Council of Australia Executive Director New South Wales Glenn Byers about the New South Wales Government Metropolitan Plan for Sydney 2036.
The target in this is to see over 750,000 new homes rolled out by 2036. Unfortunately, at the moment, Sydney's only producing about half the annual rate of homes needed to meet that target. There's no doubt the GFC had an impact in terms of slowing the construction market, but unless there are improvements to the planning system, improvements to the taxation regime in New South Wales, we're going to struggle to get there. If we have a regime that encourages investment, it's got a lot of upside, both for infill and greenfield development. It'll allow developers to get back into the market in a big way. It'll allow us to deliver the new homes essential for meeting that population demand, and it'll also allow us to start to get on top of the affordability challenge we've got in Sydney.
Now to the tax tip of the week from Depreciator, the tax depreciation schedule specialists. If you're hoping to gain a tax advantage by purchasing a property this financial year, make sure the contract is dated and signed before June the 30th. The date the property is sold is the date the contract is dated and signed by all parties. The settlement and completion date are irrelevant in this case. And as always, do remember to consult with a tax accountant or tax professional before making any tax-related decisions. And that is the Real Estate Report for Monday, the 17th of January. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lelda Smits for the Finance News Network.